we're focused on sports medicine and the Olympics. There's not much separating elite athletes. 1 inch, 1 millisecond can determine who qualifies or who goes home. We'll learn today why embracing sports medicine can give these athletes a competitive edge. I'm sitting here with Dr. Vince Key, an orthopedic surgeon here at the University of Kansas Health System. He works with the Kansas City Royals as the head team physician and medical director. He also has worked with Team USA as an associate team physician for USA Track and Field. Dr. Key, I understand you're also a track and field athlete yourself. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. I was a long jumper and triple jumper at Kansas State. So.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's fantastic. So you know firsthand what we're talking about, and you made a career out of sports medicine as well. So.
Try to do both. Multitask. Multitask.
Well, we have a special treat here today, and it's something we don't get to say often. We're joined by 2 gold medal Olympians. Eric Canard will soon be inducted to the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. He was a national champion high jumper while at K-State, and I'm wearing my purple tie in your honor as well as Dr. Key's honor. He also earned gold medal in the 2012 London Games. We also have Sean Morelli, a cyclist and 4-time medalist competing in the Paralympic Games. She's competing again this summer in Paris. It's really great to have you both. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Dr. Key, you've treated both of these athletes. Before we hear from them, what stands out about their stories?
I think the one thing with Eric first is the fact that he's a K-State, and we both ran track there, and his story, I mean, he's been an amazing, number one, he's an amazing person, as well as an ambassador for track and field. And then you get him on the track, he's an absolute beast. And we as athletes all have injuries here and there, and coming back from them and overcoming them. That's just what we do. I mean, and he's done that to the highest level that you can accomplish. Sean, she's just a burst of energy. She's awesome. She's go, 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 sometimes trying to rein her back. But it's the same thing. I mean, she had injuries and just trying to overcome them. And like I said, just trying to get her ready for Paris, and it's a back and forth. We're doing some treatments and then she goes and works. And so it's a labor of love for both. But like I said, just trying to get them back to their form is the biggest part.
Yeah, a lot of people play hurt, but you can't always play injured.
Correct.
Yeah,
100%.
I'm sure they understand that as Olympians. When we watch the Olympics, we see the performance. It's great watching on TV every 4 years or every 2 years in some instances to see what kind of things that just the excitement of the games. But what we don't see is the process and the years of dedication that goes into this. And how does sports medicine fit into that process? So we'll bring in Eric here with that. Now, Eric, you left the 2012 London Olympics with a silver medal in the high jump. And here's a clip of that performance.
Eric Canard with the bar now at 7, 7 3/4. Good speed in the turn. And that is his best jump of the night. And he is in the driver's seat headed towards the medal stand.
That jump was 2.33 meters, or 7 feet and 7 inches high. That's incredible. While he came back home with silver, Eric was later awarded the gold medal due to some shenanigans by Team Russia. Eric, you're going to Paris this summer to receive that gold medal. When do you leave, and what do you think that experience will be like for you?
Well, I leave here in about exactly a week, so 7 days from now. I still work in the sports space, as Dr. Key knows, with USA Track and Field. And it's going to be pretty crazy for me due to the fact that I'll be working and, kind of squeezing in a medal ceremony on the 9th of August. But I look forward to it. I have my family there. I have 2 young boys, a 2-year-old and a soon-to-be 1-year-old. So it'll be quite the experience in Paris for sure.
You think the 2-year-old and the 1-year-old will be hitting 7 foot 9 inches, beating out Dad?
I think we're gonna leave comparison alone with those two. We'll leave them off the track and look to explore some different sports options. That way, my competitive nature and their developing competitive natures don't drive us to insanity as a family. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, Eric, I'd like to hear about your injury and your eventual return to competition. You ruptured your Achilles tendon in 2018. Can you take us back to that moment when it happened, and what did you feel physically, and what was going on in your head at that time?
Well, I mean, physically, it was pretty painful. You kind of know immediately if you're an athlete when you take on an injury of that caliber. You know, the Achilles, you know, it's kind of cutting off all power to, you know, the lower leg, and as it relates to going up to the upper leg there. So for me, it was very emotional. It was at a U.S. championship. I finished second in because I couldn't finish the competition. It was a very emotional time. And the recovery was quite long and arduous, and it helped, obviously, to have Dr. Key in my back pocket, as he has been for quite, you know, a bit of my career, have been for quite a bit of my career. I was able to reach out to him, you know, the same in 2017 when I had a hamstring injury and in preparation for a London World Championship. So just having a good team is the most important aspect, I would say. But for me, you know, it's applying the tools, you know, the mental tools of training and the disciplines just in a different way, in a more extreme way when you're recovering from an injury, because minor muscle groups and, you know, things like Achilles tendons, I mean, from an athlete's perspective, it can be the end of a career for, you know, and but for me, it was quite the journey. I believe it was 500 days or so, I think, after injury. So it took some time, but I was able to overcome it for sure. I don't think I ever returned quite to prime form or shape, but I definitely was able to return to sport for sure.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hit on that a little bit later in the episode because you did return, and you returned as a force. Dr. Key, a torn Achilles is quite serious. Why does it take so hard? Why does it take so long, and why is it so hard to recover from?
Well, it's the power. And in Eric's case, and it was funny, I don't know if Eric remembers this, because it was in Des Moines, and I just happened to be in Des Moines that day, doing something totally different. And when he called me, I was like, I should have come over. I was there. I was there that day. But when you have such a powerful athlete who relies on their lower body to produce a lot of force, I mean, when that happens, it's a big deal. I mean, that's just like you having a car and you're taking a few pistons out of the car. Mm-hmm. You know, you just don't have that power. So, and it's a long way back, because you're repairing tendon, and then you're asking for that repair to hold up and to remodel and things of that nature to get them ready to go again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think torn Achilles are the number one 50-year-old playing pickleball injuries these days.
Oh, so. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This Eric, you obviously did some other things. You did recover, and you went on to win the 2020 Indoor National Championship. Pretty incredible after such devastating injury. How did you keep yourself going through that recovery?
I'm a pretty cerebral guy, so for me, I kept my head in a few books, and you know, I was able to lean on the mental aspects of training, and then also just understanding, you know, that I was not gonna be able to come back the same. So I was maturing through the injury as well, like taking the time mentally and emotionally to mature and kind of deal with the realities that, hey, man, you may come back and return to sport, but you may never reach championship form again. So I was just kind of preparing myself for those things. And fortunately, I did, you know, return to sport, win a U.S. Indoor Championship in 2020. And unfortunately, I was put on pause again by COVID. So it was quite the return to sport. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to do so.
All right. Well, so, Eric, what is your message to the other athletes out there who might be facing an injury?
I would just say live beyond comparison. You know, I would kind of put the mirror away for a while and look to, you know, who you're looking to transform yourself into post-injury. Like, I think after recovery, mentality is extremely important, and you begin to develop that, through rehab. I think a lot of times athletes, we compare ourselves to our greatest work so much that we get caught up in you know, chasing our shadows a little bit, and it enables us to be able to grow, through injury or through recovery, et cetera, because you live in that state of comparison. And like Dr. Key said, it's difficult to not only repair a tendon, but also prepare it to store that force. And the same with, the mental aspect as being cautious and returning to sport after having such an injury. So I think starting in between the years mentally here is the key for sure.
All right. Well, obviously, we know he recovered quite well. And how do you think Eric handled his recovery and rehab?
Well, he handled it very well. Just like you say, he's extremely cerebral. He's very modest and knowing your body. And it's just like any other injury. Like I tell people all the time, I can fix it. Now you have to make it work, and it is mental. I mean, and when you're at that level, like Eric said, it's hard. It's a comparison. But it's your new normal. And how are you going to manage your new normal? Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest piece of this. And is that new normal good enough? Obviously, for Eric, it was good enough to win another national championship. For others, they can't get back. And a lot of it is a comparison. They keep comparing to the old person and not necessarily the new one and what the new one wants to do. So it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Not only the physical, that seems to be easier sometimes than the mental.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's turn to Sean Morelli. Here's a clip of her gold medal performance at the 2016 Rio Games.
But it's going to be a gold medal. 3:59.407, the elation on the face of Sean Morelli. Brilliant time in the qualifying, brilliant time here. It's going to be a bit slower in the final in the end, but it doesn't matter. Gold medal USA.
Sean, you've been an athlete your entire life, but you didn't pick up cycling until your 30s. How did you find cycling, and when did you realize that you were extremely gifted at it?
Yeah, I played mostly ball sports, soccer, and basketball through my university career. When I lived in Germany, I played soccer, and I ended up getting an injury to my knee, go figure, and I was told that I couldn't run anymore, so I had to find another sport that I felt was super competitive, maybe a little on the sadistic side, and cycling was it. So when we moved back to the States from Germany, I started riding the bike even more. And I went to the 2012 Nationals, and I beat the girl they were taking to London by 2 minutes in the time trial. And the Team USA coaches were a little surprised, and they said, "Where have you been?" And I said, "Little town in Kansas." And they were like, "Oh, you need to be coming to us." So that kind of started the cycling journey. I had assumed I was just kind of too old and I was just doing it for fun. And they said, "No, you need to get yourself a real coach and take this seriously." And so I did. And 2016 was the result of the start of that event.
Yeah, that's just incredible. And you had told us previously that you had a mental image of what a cyclist needs to look like. How did that mental image lead to unhealthy behavior?
You have this picture, if you ever watch like professional cycling, you see how small all the cyclists are. And I obviously was coming from a different sport, so my body was shaped slightly different. I was bigger, I was a goalkeeper, I was muscular, and I was like, well, if I'm going to be a serious cyclist, I have to get my weight down, I have to change my body, and that led to some unhealthy eating habits. And that took a while to come back from. I think at my lowest weight, I was about 115 pounds, which is not a healthy weight for someone who's 5'8". So it took a while to mentally adjust to the new sport and the endeavor I was about to take.
I'd say you've adjusted quite well. You've been seeing.
I have a good team behind me.
That's great. You've been seeing Dr. Key for knee problems. Dr. Key, what are you treating in Sean's knee?
A lot of it is just, she's come from various sports, like she said, and it's just wear and tear. We only have so many thickness of our tread or our tires, just like a cyclist, right? And so I think it was a lot of wear and tear of the articular cartilage, and i.e. arthritis, and that was the primary issue, and just trying to manage it. You know, and there's different ways to manage it. There's modifying your activity. There's injections that you can use and anti-inflammatories that you can take. So it's just coming up, like Sean said, having a team and having a good game plan as to how you're going to tackle that, but also have her competing at a very high level.
So after treatments, patients are supposed to rest and recover before they can return to training. What do you tell patients who might be too eager to start training again?
Well, it's a balance, and you can't go back like nothing ever happened, and I think that's the mistake that a lot of people make. So it's starting out, tissue and bone react to stress, and if you overstress it, it's just like taking a paper clip. You know, you can do it like this, nice, but fast, boom, something's going to happen. So it's a matter of getting them to understand, because they've been so used to go. It's just, and I tell them it's not a light switch, it's a dimmer. You just have to slowly bounce back in and let your body adapt.
So as we heard before, Dr. Key described Sean as a bundle of energy, and had tough to slow her down. So, Sean, do you ever have to slow yourself down while recovering from injury?
Oh yeah. I think every time I go in to see Dr. Key, my first question to him is, okay, when can I get back on my bike? And he's always just kind of, really patient with me, which is helpful. But yeah, I have a hard time slowing down. I like to go fast. That's why I win races. And not being on my bike, not being able to train, it's mentally difficult for me, because I use that as a stress outlet, as well as, I'm training for the national team or world championships or now Paris. So having to have that mental strength to take a step back, I really have to work with some of my other team members, and keep myself in the moment, keep myself mindful, and keep my eyes on the ultimate goal, not just that training goal for the week. So it takes some strength mentally and physically, I guess. Yeah.
So and Sean, you're headed to Paris to compete here pretty soon. What does your training regimen look like now?
I spend quite a lot of time on the bike. This because I just raced at our trials. These 2 days have been pretty light, but typically I can spend anywhere between 20 and 40 hours training a week. If you count, recovery from training, the actual training rides, mobility, stability, gym work, all that is, molded into a training schedule, and it can be pretty rigorous.
Right. We are here to answer your questions. Please send them in using the links on your screen, YouTube, Facebook, or email the Medical News Network. I also want to congratulate some of my patients who are competing in a lesser-known athletic competition. I don't know if anybody's heard of the transplant game, but this is very similar, but maybe at a different level. It's an event where transplant recipients compete in Olympic-style events. Amber Pettis is one of 3 University of Kansas Health System patients competing at this year's games. She says it's all about being a good steward of the gift of life.
I made it my business to make sure that as long as I have a healthy, viable transplant, I'll be at the games, I'll be competing, I'll be showing the world that, organ donation is doing things for people out there.
Amber received a new kidney 9 years ago. She competes in cycling and track and field events. She says she stopped counting her medals, but says she has, quote, at least 16 golds. Let's check in with Doc Hawk. Hawk, COVID activity is still low, but levels are increasing a little bit. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I think around the nation, especially we know in the West, we know that recently Hawaii has had more hospitalizations, emergency department visits. We also know from wastewater testing that overall virus levels are increasing from where they were 4 weeks ago. But if you look at the overall data, we know that those rates are much less than they were, say, in 2021 and 2022 as well. There still is not a full seasonality to this infection, this virus, like for RSV or influenza. But right now it's looking like maybe there are 2 peaks during the year, something in the late summer and, of course, in the winter as well. But overall, we know that this virus does circulate consistently throughout the year, definitely in those higher levels than those infections like influenza and RSV as well.
So is it peaking, not peaking nearly as much as it did back in the day when we were living through the initial part of this pandemic? Why is it not peaking as much as it used to?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think a lot of this data is based on the ability to obtain that data. So we know that the virus is spreading, but we know that people are not testing. We know that institutions probably are not having as many testing sites as before. And of course, we know that the reporting is much less to the CDC than it has been in the past as well. So I think overall that is important to understand. But more important to understand is that we have reached some sort of good level of population immunity. So people have been vaccinated and revaccinated. They have been infected and reinfected, and all of that lends to developing individual immunity to help protect against severe disease and hospitalization. Now, I think we should say that there are populations that we need to be sensitive about. Those are populations that are more likely or higher risk to have that severe disease. And we see those populations are the ones that are coming to the hospital or unfortunately still dying from this disease. And those are people with older age, with comorbidities such as heart disease, diabetes, obesity, lung disease, heart disease, and of course those people that are immunosuppressed for one reason or another, whether it's cancer specifically or they're getting chemotherapy or things of that nature.
Yeah. So there's, and the segue to that really is, but there's been a change in plan for this fall's COVID shot. So what is that change?
Yeah, and it's nice to know we are able to pivot from one thing to another fairly quickly with the advent of these new mRNA vaccines. So initially, when the CDC and the other groups were meeting to determine what sort of spike or what sort of variant should be the component of the new 2024-2025 COVID updated vaccine, they originally said JN1 because that was the most predominant variant at that time. But just last week, they updated it even more recently to say it is the KP2 variant, which seems to be having a larger predominance now and increasing in the testing. So, but what we should say is that, again, all of these variants really seem to be the same and similar as far as the disease that they cause and the severity that they cause. But if we can pivot to what we anticipate is probably the more up-to-date variant and give protection against that, that is probably better than using a component of the variant that we really aren't seeing anymore in the population. So I think it's a good thing in the ability to pivot quickly to make a new formulation of the vaccine so that we have it ready to roll out in the fall to give people protection. I think is a good thing.
Great. Well, thanks, Dr. Hawkinson. Really appreciate the update.
Yeah.
We know that many of you have questions, so let's head to Studio B with Alexis.
Hey, Dr. Cumer. All right, we have some great questions. One coming in from Jeremy Yenser. Jeremy wants to know, Dr. Key, when an athlete is injured, at what point can you tell the injury is going to be just a speed bump rather than something that derails their plans for the future?
Well, I think the big part of that is examining the patient. If you need to get other imaging, whether it's an MRI or just sometimes just a plain X-ray, and then looking at the overall injury. And there's some injuries that are different grades. There's grade 1, which is a mild strain, to a grade 3, which is a big tear. So you have to put all of those things together. You have to look at the functionality of the athlete, because it could be a grade 2 or grade 3 even on an MRI, but they're actually functioning fine. So you don't bet the farm on one way or the other, but I tend to believe the athlete more so than the scan. So again, you just have to put all those things together and then come up with the game plan.
I have a message, Dr. Key, from my mom. She wants me to tell you, you are amazing. To our audience, Dr. Key has worked on my mom's knee and my son's knee. My mom says you are a magician who is kind, calm, and able to fix anything. So there you go.
I owe her $1.
Unsolicited.
Maybe a few more than $1, but.
We have a question for Eric. Marie wants to know, can you ask Eric about how he feels about the Russian who got disqualified? Do you feel any bitterness that you didn't get to stand on the podium and get your big moment for your true gold medal?
No, I don't feel any bitterness at all. Actually, I mean, my presence in the sport of track and field currently and working in the sport is to make it better, so that experience isn't recycled for anyone else. So I don't think that, my feelings are bitterness at all. Actually, I'm just kind of working so the system is better and the sport as a whole improves.
And then Amy has a question for Sean. Amy wants to know, how many calories does Sean consume while she's training?
Depending on the training block or what I'm currently doing, it can be 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day.
3,000 or 4,000. Wow, okay. And then real quick, Dr. Key, can you explain your shirt? Because there's a very cool story behind that shirt.
Well, I know Eric knows about this shirt, but I've been blessed enough to be able to take 2 USA track and field teams abroad, one to Mexico and one to Costa Rica. So we have obviously Nike, the flag, actually Team USA in the back. I don't know if I want to stand up and show that, but I guess I can. So in the back, I don't know if you can see it. It has USA.
So cool.
It has USA in the back. So it is. It's been an absolute blessing to be able to take care of these athletes. And I think the one thing is that representing your country is truly a special thing, as these 2 athletes can attest to.
Well, this has been a great discussion, and I'm extremely grateful to our guests for being here. And I also want to get everybody's final thoughts before we go. Sean?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to, Dr. Key and the whole University of Kansas health system for everything they do. They also do a lot of work with my disability, my neurological problems. So I really do have a whole team around me in the health system, and I just can't say thank you enough to Dr. Key rolling, doing my oil changes every few months so that I can now go to Paris and compete and represent my country. It's I'm there for all of you, not just for me. So thank you.
Best of luck to you, Sean. Eric?
I echo the same sentiments. Thank you, Dr. Key. You're a true case setter, EMAW for sure, and we appreciate all the hard work and dedication you put towards helping athletes stay in one piece, and specifically the Team USA athletes. As I know, you get around working with a lot of high-level athletes, but we appreciate the time you spend with us Team USA athletes, and specifically, Team USA track and field. Hopefully, we can get you in a few more teams here in the future.
I'd love it.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Dr. Key, final thoughts?
No, I think, like I said, these 2 athletes have performed at an extremely high level. It's good to see these athletes, even along with our local athletes. I know and Eric can attest to this, to USA Track and Field, we had a lot of our local athletes actually making the team. I mean, we had one in the 400 meters. We had one in the high jump. We had a couple that just missed. One in particular in the long jump missed by 1/4 of an inch from making the team. but he'll be back and he'll be back in 28. And I enjoy taking care of these athletes. I've been there, done that as an athlete. Now I transition as a physician. It is really special, and to be able to interact with these athletes it's really special, and it's my love. I mean, granted, I've been taking care of the Royals for 14 years, but I always go back to track and field. I have of my 4 kids, I have a daughter who's running track at LSU, and I have another son that's going to be running track at Arizona State. So track is that's what we do in our house.
Gotcha. Well, thank you. This has been an incredible treat. Just to make an Olympic team is incredible. To qualify for that, but we have 2 individuals here that have earned gold, and it's been an honor to listen to your stories and have you here with us. And as you heard before, elite athletes have injuries, and they need the help of people, of a team backing them up, and it's an honor that the University of Kansas Health System can be a member of that team, and we thank you for that opportunity, and Dr. Key, thank you.
Appreciate it.
So thanks again to all our guests and to our audience. Dr. Stites will be back next week, and have a great day.
Coming up Friday on the Morning Medical Update. Weights, bands, and kettlebells have their uses, but you don't really need any of them to get a good workout. I'm Jessica Lovell on the next Morning Medical Update. Body weight exercises where there are no barriers to fitness. Personal trainers show us moves that you can do anytime, anywhere. Friday at 8.
Subscribe to our Morning Medical Update and Open Mics with Dr. Stites podcasts. Now everywhere podcasts are available.